Ready? Yeah? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to viewers joining us. We are coming to you live from the Esplanade Mall, the historic Esplanade Mall, that is, on Emancipation Day 2020. The journey from 1838 to 2020, 182 years of emancipation, and we are celebrating here. It is midday in the city, and it is time for us to do the Emancipation Proclamation. Please welcome Carlene Rouse, one of Grenada's most renowned poets. An act for carrying into effect the provisions of an act of the Imperial Parliament of Great Britain and Ireland passed in the 3rd and 4th years of the reign of His present Majesty, King William IV, for the abolition of slavery throughout the British colonies, and to make further provisions for the purposes in the said act mentioned. 29th December 1834. It is hereby enacted by the above authority that as of August 1st, 1838, all persons held as slaves on the island of Grenada are now and forever free. To planters, the construct of the Abolition Act is that all slaves shall become absolutely and unconditionally free, and that you have no further claim upon those who were your slaves for any services as apprentices or otherwise. It will remain, therefore, for you to submit with decorum and patience to the law as it stands. To the former slaves, you who have been slaves and lately acting as apprentices, are by this decision made absolutely and unconditionally free. I trust that you will show your gratitude to that nation which has made such great personal and pecuniary sacrifices to ensure your freedom, by your loyalty to your common monarch, and by the willing and anxious obedience you will pay to the laws of the land. New duties devolve upon you with the new positions you now occupy, and I hope by the steadiness of your conduct and your peaceable demeanor, you will prove that this greatness of all earthly boons has not been unworthily bestowed upon you. You must now entirely depend upon your own industry for your support. You must recollect that you have no person to feed you, no person to clothe you, no person to give you medical assistance if you are ill. You must depend upon your own exertions for all these things. You have no houses or grounds of your own. Those you have hereunto occupied must now be given up to their owners, your former masters, whose property they are. All belong to him except your furniture, clothes, and crops you have now in the ground. These you have a right to remove to where you please to go, if you mean to do so. But I trust that a sense of what is so decidedly your own interest will induce him to leave you in the quiet occupation of your grounds and homes. Though he who was your master is no longer so, recollect of what service he may be to you. Do not imagine that you are now free. Because you are now free, you are independent of one another. No class of the community can be independent of the other. All experience has shown how one hangs on the other. Those of you who have been well treated, recollect that it is now in your power to show your gratitude for past kindnesses. Probably you gave great provocation and show that if they have been in the wrong, that you will not now justify acting improperly. I trust that on my next visit to Grenada, I shall hear that you have improved your habits of industry, your quiet demeanor, and your increasing wealth will show your obedience to the law, and that you deserve this great benefit which you now receive.
And that was the proclamation, of course, the Emancipation Proclamation. We are commemorating here at the Esplanade Mall, historically very, 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 very meaningful in our history and our heritage. And the backdrop is, of course, the Jab House. This event is being brought to you by the Grenada Cultural Foundation in collaboration with Grenreal and Jambalassi Grenada. So we are tying up all areas of heritage and culture here on this Emancipation Day. The struggle continues, 1838 to 2020. It is now my pleasure to invite Reverend Andrew for the blessing.
Thank you very much, Brenda. The scripture reading that I'll be reading just now is from Exodus chapter 3, 1 through 12, and it's about Moses' call by God to go down into Egypt to free the Israelites from under the yoke of slavery. And it's interesting that today we are celebrating emancipation from slavery. And we, our descendants, that is, came from Africa through the Middle Passage. And so here begins the reading from Exodus chapter 3, 1 through 12. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the back of the desert and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. So he looked, and behold, the bush was not burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. Then Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. So when the Lord saw that he turned aside to look, God called to him from the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. Then he said, Do not draw near this place. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground. Moreover, he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God. And the Lord said, I have surely seen the oppression of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry because of the taskmasters. For I know their sorrows. So I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up from that land to a good and large land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now, therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Egyptians oppress them. Come now, therefore, and I will send you to Pharaoh, and you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt? So he said, I will certainly be with you, and this shall be a sign to you that I have sent you. And when you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain. I'm going to sing 2 lines of a song, We Are Going. And if the drummer could accompany it, that'd be great. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we'll get there. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we'll get there. We know the road will be long and hard and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Andrew. Of course, we will get there. We keep making steps to get there. We've been doing so since 1838. 182 years. And if we go way, way back, we could come all the way up and say it's about 400 years, yeah? Yeah, the struggle continues. Yep, the journey from emancipation to modern-day freedom. Of course, the body in Grenada charged with preserving, making policy, and taking care of our heritage and culture is the Grenada Cultural Foundation. It is now my pleasure to introduce the chairman of the foundation to make some remarks on this commemoration of Emancipation Day 2020. Please welcome Mrs. Hoshitalek.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is certainly my pleasure to be here with you to celebrate this wonderful day of emancipation. Happy Independence Day, Grenada. Please, apologies to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Marty. Welcome once again on this Emancipation Day. Happy Emancipation Day to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Now, today is a day of our legacy. The 1st of August, 1838, it's a day that we have to remember. It's a day that we have to remind our little ones the significance of who we are and what we are as of today. Now, I would like to end with the fact that this is all a legacy. It's a legacy of who we are as people, as slaves. Where we were resistance, there was resistance, but there was also resilience. And as a result, we are here today to celebrate, right? And so now it becomes a legacy of tomorrow. And I invite you all, the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, to build this legacy together. Thank you, and once again, happy Emancipation Day.
Thank you so much, Chairperson of the Foundation, Mrs. Hoshitalek. Of course, we are here part of this commemoration and celebration, if you will, is really garnering historical facts about our heritage, who we are, gaining our identity as a Grenadian people. It is my pleasure to welcome one of Grenada's finest musicians, and cousin orator himself, to give us some emancipation facts. Please welcome Akeem.
Greetings in the name of the Most High, free people. How does it feel, everybody, to be free? Yeah. Give thanks for the sacrifices from our ancestors before. Today I'm going to share with you some facts on emancipation. Did you know that on midnight, July 31st, 1838, complete freedom and emancipation from chattel slavery was received with great rejoicing, and that many of the freed slaves also went to church in rejoice? Did you know that Frederick Douglass, a runaway enslaved African, addressed the Anti-Slavery Society in Massachusetts in 1841? He made such an impression that he became an agent of the society and a leader of the movement against slavery. Did you know that Harriet Tubman escaped to freedom, traveling by night, hiding by day, until she reached Philadelphia? She then joined a secret organization known as the Underground Railway, which helped people to escape. They said she hid in day and traveled at night. How many people still have the confidence to go outside when outside is dark? With no light, no fame, no nothing. This is the kind of things that we had, that our ancestors had to endure, so that we can be free here today, celebrating today and enjoying this today. Did you know that slavery continued in the United States for nearly 3 decades after it was abolished in Britain and its colonies? It was brought to its end by a bloody civil war which began in 1861. Today I give thanks for the opportunity to be here. Emancipation Day is a huge thing for me, not just because of the strides we are making here today, but because of the strides that were made over 182 years ago so that we can be here today. Give thanks and love to our ancestors. Bless them all.
Thank you so very much, Akeem. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Akeem. Thank you. One of the very, very, very salient points in the proclamation that should stay with us, should stay with us, that it is hereby enacted by the above authority that as of August 1st, 1838, all, and I repeat, all persons held as slaves on the island of Grenada, we know the state is Grenada, but it includes the islands of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, all slaves on the island of Grenada are now and forever free. Let that sink in for a moment. Free and free indeed. But we're under no illusions. The struggle continues, all right? 1838 to 2020, and we are marching on. We're coming to you here live from the Esplanade, and now that we are through with the official parts of the commemoration, we are going to get into some fun parts, if you will. Here with us, drumming since 1976. He first went to Carafesta during the period of 1979. Ladies and gentlemen, one of Grenada's and the Caribbean, maybe the world's finest, drummer extraordinaire, Montey Drayton.
Telele.
telele. I don't want what she eat and leave. I don't want what she eat and leave. Oh lady walk a mile and a half and she telele. Oh lady walk a mile and a half and she telele. You want one more? Sly mongoose, dog know your way. Sly mongoose, dog know your way. Well, the mongoose went in the lady kitchen, pick up one of she big fat chicken, put it inside the waistcoat pocket. Sly mongoose, dog know your way. Sly mongoose, dog know your way. Well, the mongoose went in the lady kitchen, pick up one of she big fat chicken, put it inside the waistcoat pocket. Sly mongoose.
Thank you so very much, Montey. And of course, for that little folk, the sly mongoose bit there. Why the chicken had to be fat, Montey? Why it can't be another kind of chicken? Aren't there different sizes of chickens, Montey?
Especially the iPhone.
Right. I thought so. So we could have just said chicken. But anyway. So here we are. This afternoon, we are going to be having great fun here. It's Emancipation Day. We're having a really good time. We're not even going to stretch to think what would have been happening today if everything was all right. But everything is all right because guess what? We still have an opportunity to really commemorate our heritage and, of course, infuse the important elements of our heritage, our culture. Be under no mistake that what we do today as it relates to our cultural forms, the expressions of mask, pan, and jab has sprung from this emancipation. All right, so let us please recognize that and stop promulgating and attaching different labels to what we're doing and who we are and what we are. Let's hear it. So you must have heard of Jambalasi Grenada, right? And they've been doing this for a while. You may have seen the logo popping up on social media since last year. But in case you have not taken a deep dive into their work, it is a cultural project, a cultural heritage project on a mission to document, promote, and preserve Grenada's traditional jab, with a special focus on the sounds and music of this part of our culture. This project wants to remind us of the importance of recording our rich culture heritage and finding very new and creative ways to share it in this new digital age. So if we want to get the younger generations to respect and practice this culture, we have to take the time to dissect it, explain it, and share it on platforms where they spend most of their time. I know lots of you right now are on social media viewing, and we trust that you are going to stay with us for a while. So if you have been to the Esplanade Mall right here in the last 2 weeks, you'd have seen this here, this backdrop behind me. This is Jambalasi Grenada's Jab House. It is a mobile cultural experience because basically the Jab House could pop up anywhere. Yep. And, and it is a space that is also, the intention is to inject the sounds of Juve morning into everyday lives of our patrons. And talking about Juve morning, a little trip to the Jab House might help you solidify the little emotions and the feelings you're having right now, right? So, and we really want to do that because, of course, we know our official Spice Mars, as we know it, have been canceled this year. Don't forget that when you stop by, all official COVID safety regulations, precautions, and everything do apply. And the Jab House will be here till August 14th. The space is also a pop-up shop as the entrance, and great memorabilia inside, great merch. You can stop by and get your t-shirts, your face mask, jab helmets, and more. All right, so Let's hear it for all the folks behind the Job House. Our heritage, our culture. So talking about Job House and job culture. So we have some edifying, some facts, some history to tell you about. And of course, this event is a collaboration with the Grenada Cultural Foundation. And what better person to walk us through than the Chief Executive Officer of the Grenada Cultural Foundation, Ms. Shirma Wells. Good afternoon. No, I'm not running from the heat. I want to catch the Job House. I want to get a feeling. I want to get a vibe. Right? Yeah. You're feeling that?
The energy is very much here. Let me just say good afternoon to you wherever you are. Those of you on the internet as well, we understand that we're streaming worldwide. It's a pleasure to be here and to be a part of this experience. Of course, Emancipation Day is a historical day for us in Grenada and the rest of the world, because wherever there were enslaved, that's our ancestors, there would have been an Emancipation Day. And earlier on, you would have heard on certain issues that took place in the United States. But I just want to let you know that some 10 years before the Americans freed our African ancestors, we were freed. So you're very much advanced to them. All right? Now, we talk about emancipation, and we look at August Monday as the official Emancipation Day. Well, I have news for you, in case you haven't heard it before. Today, the 1st of August, is Emancipation Day, the official day. Traditionally, we would celebrate it on August Monday, the first Monday in August. So please remember that. It was on the 1st of August, 1838, our African ancestors were freed in this country. The proclamation was read in the St. George's Market Square at 12 noon. Hence the reason why we did the same thing here today. But England did enact proclamation in 1834. But guess what? The wickedness of the British. The wickedness of the British. After they took all our cane, I'll give you a little story. It may be a myth, it may be a legend, it may be an old folks' tale. But in Grenada, we refer to grog. And we know that we have a rum here called grog. The old folks say that the king at the time, he preferred the rum coming out of Grenada. So he made them stamp on the barrels of rum heading to England for his own use. G-R-O-G. Interpreted as good rum of Grenada. I am not sure if it's true. I haven't even found that in any book or anything, but old people tell me that. And it makes sense. All you think so? We had the best soil. We had the best cane. So it must mean that we have the best rum. And we're still winning a lot of awards all over the world for the rum. So he must have known what he was all about. But nevertheless, getting back to the fact, all of us crying for Juve this year because COVID knocked it out the door. All of us crying to play job. A lie? A lie? Everybody balling they won their freedom. Where them today? This is the day they should be here to celebrate the ones who gave them job. This is the day they should be here to celebrate the ones who gave them that freedom. No. They're calling for job. They want to roam the town in black and helmet with horn and chain dragging, their tongue red, all kind of things falling out of their mouth. But they're not here today. I say, where the job there? Where the job posse there? And look. Significantly, people, I don't want to take all the time, but I'm bringing you right to Carnival. Significantly, people, the Jambalasi people trying their best to keep the tradition of the jab alive, not just as a carnival caricature, but as a part of our cultural making, if we understand the concept of jab. Jab was given to us by our ancestors as an indication never to forget the atrocities that they suffered under the Europeans and how they were able to cope with those atrocities. Carnival and emancipation intertwined. And I say that in the context of the Caribbean carnival. Forget that French thing. The French had their carnival, and yes, that was the initial spark. But our people being very innovative and creative, they created for us what we can now call today our very own Caribbean carnival, which started on August the 1st, 1838. Remember that. I sound like a preacher, eh? Yes. But let me tell you this. We all know about the big Mardi Gras of the French. They had their big ballroom event in the big Massa house with all the feathers and the dominoes, the mask in their face. That is what we take from them and have it as we pretty mass. But I want to ask you something here. If you've ever been to New Orleans, you ever been to Rio, you ever see a jab? You ever hear a calypso? You ever hear a conch shell blow? You ever hear drums? So where did they come from? It can't be the French. Somebody is fooling somebody. Somebody is fooling somebody. You see, when Master was having his big hubalaloo, whatever you want to call it, up in the big house, we ancestors been having their own celebration in the little shackles on the plantation, because you know we like fun. Yeah? So they had their own kind of mass. They did their own kind of thing. You know, somebody said to me about canboulé. What is canboulé? You see, when we came out of slavery, we came with a few French words. Indeed. So we talk about canboulé, we talk about juve, they're all French words. But we come with it, we take it from them. Canboulé was the burning of the cane. Who burned the cane? Them French people? Well, the slaves that burned the cane and beat their drums when they were burning the cane and had a kind of maroon kind of thing feeding everybody. So don't come and tell me about canboulés, pre-Lenten thing and all that kind of thing. Listen to me, folks. So they played their mass. Now they have a story about some fella falling in a thing of molasses, and when he come back out, they say that is jab. That might be a Trini jab, I don't know. Our jab didn't come out of that. And that is why we have the most original jab in the world. Don't fool yourself, you know. The same thing is played in Martinique, Dominique, St. Kitts, coming down the island, Haiti. These places, they have a similar character because we came from a similar background. If you really trace the root of your African ancestors, when they were in their own land, when they were hunters and they had to camouflage themselves to go out into the forest to capture their animals. Camouflage. The job is a camouflage. And why did they camouflage? Let's get to the history. Now, Massa used the Bible to convert our African people into Christianism. Let me tell you something. Regardless of the fact that you scorn the Baptist religion today, it is the religion of our ancestors. It is the oldest religion in the world. But Master decided, all you're wrong, all you have too much God, all you are doing all kind of ceremonial thing. I'm going to take all of that away from you. So he brought spiritual Baptists. I'm corrected. Spiritual Baptists. So Master came along and decided he's going to read the Bible inculcate in the minds of the enslaved Africans that this is the way to go. Now, we people couldn't read English and write English, and Massa knew this. So Massa wanted to keep them there. You have to listen to me. This is the word. This is the way. This is the way. You're right. But you know what? You had some very smart Africans on that plantation. Because, you see, when they went to Africa, they didn't discriminate, you know. It wasn't ordinary people, you know, vagrants on the street that pick up, you know, in the forest. All kind of people. They were prince. They were kings. Who know about King Jaja? Kings. They take poor King Jaja, they bring him here, they send him all Barbados, all kind of crap. But that's another story. St. Vincent, you went? You have your picture in your house, you see? I ain't lie. But they brought him here first, and then they take him somewhere else. King Jaja, a king. You see? They enslave all kind of prince. Check your history. Well, let me tell you what happened. So, the enslaved Africans, because I like to say enslaved Africans, because they weren't slaves, they were enslaved, they were free people. When they've been having their own little thing in the backyard, and they already were smart enough to steal Massa Bible from time to time and learn to read, and they didn't want Massa to know that they could read. Now, let me tell you this. We have some cards given out here. And you'll notice that somebody missing an eye, somebody have a broken leg, they're missing an arm. All these were the punishments, the physical punishments that Massa did to ancestors. And if he only knew who reading, they probably would have been hung right there in the market square. They used to have trees that they used to hang them from. Right there in the market square, on the willow trees. He still is a historian, you know. So I'll continue to tell you the story. So in the barracks, they used to camouflage themselves, and you know, Jambalasi gone back to coal dust. Because I remember it was fire, wood and food fire and things they used to have to cook on. So they had a lot of coal dust. The fat from the animal and Massa don't want, and Massa give them to make lard to cook with. And they fix that up and they grease up themselves. Any one of you that know long ago job, capital, spelling, reading from the Bible, big chain pulling, horn on the head, snake round the neck, red tongue, and all of a sudden, I don't want none in your Fanta, honey. All of a sudden, we demonize it and say we practicing devilism. All of a sudden, we demonize it and say we practicing devilism. There are some people who saying this should never be here. Listen to me. That was their way of saying to Massa, you feel we can't read? We could read, but you don't know who reading because you don't know who's under this camouflage. And that's what it was. But beyond that, beyond just letting Massa know that there is a reader, you believe Massa would have gone and touched this black, greasy fella that come up in front of him when he have any fancy, pretty costume? No. So they got away with it. They got away with it. And they took it to the next level by taunting Massa and referring to him as the devil. And hence the reason why they put on the big horns on the head. That's the representation. And they tease him with the town, the redness of the town. When you see them dragging the chain represents emancipation. The broken chain that they pulled behind them. They were free, and they came out pulling those chains. So that happened on the plantation. But in 1834, when England declared them to be freed and gave the planters 4 years for that transition, the planters were asked to give them a little plot of land to plant their own little vegetables and so on. And they remained waiting for the 4 years. And history tells us, in 1838, very early in the morning. Them slaves never slept. The enslaved Africans, they never slept that night. They tasted the freedom come in the morning. They never slept. They got ready with their drums. They started putting all their various costuming together, if you want to call it that, including the job, including them veku. You hear that us pull pan and make noise in Victoria. All of that came out from that. And guess what? They waited with bated breath. History tells us that. Bated breath, anxiously awaiting the first little light of dawn. Petit jour. Well, you know what petit jour mean? You see what petit jour mean again? Little day, little light. Waiting for that little light to come out. Because they were afraid to, Master was a wicked man, you know. You know that. Waiting for that little light to come out. For them to be freed, emancipated on the 1st of August, 1838. History tells us that they came out onto the streets with all their drums and their chanting and their masquerade. And ladies and gentlemen, Juve, jab, Juve came with them. We inherited that from our ancestors. They fought for it. It wasn't an easy fight. Today, we have some slave cards here from the free Africans. And in it you will see as much as a lady as old as 105 years endured slavery. Some of them were born here on the plantations enslaved. A child as young as 7 years. So when we think about carnival, and we think about emancipation, we must unlock it and put it together in one. Yeah, well, of course, you say Penny, all know about, you know, we could go on and on with the history of this thing. But I'll tell you something, folks. I just want to say this. Every year, we call on all job people, we call on Calypsonians, we call on all persons involved in carnival to honor Emancipation Day because it is so important to that process. Where are they today? Very few. Where are Akeem? Only Akeem the singer again. Yeah. None of them here, and they don't come out. But you hear them crying out to play job next week Monday. Well, you know something? Take job. You put the rest.
What you have against us? What you have against the masqueraders? What it is you have against the job, the masqueraders? Listen, I had to ask you because 2020 was going to be the year I fulfill a promise to two of my very good friends. I was really going to get in the oil. Not the oil because Ian showed me the way to do charcoal. So I was going to do that this year, but of course it's not going to happen. But I'm always intrigued by some of the elements with that, the job. So like the dragging of the chain. I notice people just dragging chain, but they're not doing it properly. Right? And then the red tongue. Last time I see a fella take his tongue and he rub it on the wall. I don't think the job meant that. So tell me about why the tongue is red. Why we dragging the 4 feet of chain. Some more oil in a pail. Meet me on the road. So tell us about the symbolic and the heritage attached to the dragging of the chain, the red town, and probably even the horns. Why we do the cowbell and all of that.
Well, you have to remember things evolve as well along the way. But if you understand the picture that is painted of the devil, he's painted with a red tongue. Yeah? So it is saying to Master, you are the devil. The aspect of all kind of piece of cow head hanging out your mouth and all of that. I don't know where that come out, no, Papa. Trust me. Inventive skills, you're right. But the horn represents, of course, telling Master he's the devil, the red town. The chain that is pulled behind represents freedom, the breaking of the chain. So when they were freed, that is a chain that they were enslaved with and sold with in that market there. So that's what the chain represents. What was the other one? The horns, of course, is saying to Master, you're the devil. They're not playing devil mass. They're not worshiping devil. Neither are they devils. Black is beautiful. Black is not devil.
Ask you, especially now as we are so, blackness is a source of a lot of awareness, so to speak, by the various, marches and really, criminal deeds around the world. What it is about us that even if we herald, yes, I'm black and I'm beautiful, but when it comes to black, certain things being black, that we don't embrace the entire blackness of our blackness, so to speak.
You have to go back to the Europeans and investigate their history. Because, Brenda, this isn't only about slavery. This is about oppression. This is about Europe going into Africa and enslaving the people in Africa. They're still enslaved in certain areas. This is about the Europeans going in there and reaping all the benefits out of Africa, paying Africans minimal wages in some instances in the mines and so, beating them. So they actually come out of that oppressive sort of life. Bob Marley said that we are still mentally enslaved. And when you look at the aspects of the mental enslavement, where do you think the crab in the barrel thing comes from? Listen to me. When Master chose his chosen few and made them into house slaves, the rest of the slaves saw that he put them in a certain level above them. So you find that because they were inculcated into that, they begin to hate he who would have achieved and aspire, because he has become the house slave and wants to pull them down all the time. When we look at colorism among our own people, this was created in us by Master. Because the fairer ones were the ones who were chosen to be the house slaves and so on. So today we still believe that they're better than those who are darker. So colorism is still mentally enslaved in us. So is the crab and barrel situation. You wonder why the Chinese and why the Indians progressing and working together and we are not doing it? Honey Bunch, that's what Master do to us. And unless we can come to terms that we are all one, it's not going to change. It's not going to change. You know, we are fortunate here in the Caribbean that we don't have a lot of those issues to deal with as the United States, but it's so prominent. What could have a white policeman putting his blooming knee on a black man in 2020? Because of the way he would see him as an animal and not an equal. Simple, you know. But the job brings home the evenness of enslavement. It brings it home to us. And if we lose the job, we will forget what our ancestors went through. So we must maintain the job nation. I also want to say, job is a very disciplined mass. And there are only few who still continue with that discipline. Brenda, before I leave, I just want to let folks know that Sedu is also commemorating Emancipation as they usually do, and they choose August Monday. So Monday they will not be able to have the usual flambeau march and so on, but what they will be doing, I'm not sure if they're blowing horns for Emancipation, because we did ask. Oh, somebody get married? Well, congratulations. I'm not sure. They're going to be having a virtual presentation that we ask you to zoom in on your online for that on Monday. Yeah? Continue to remember there is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. You know, Brenda, a few years ago when y'all coined, what? 100 and how much jab, and all you nearly get killed for it. Who are we? Who are we? Where did we come from?
We did not just say it to say it. It was coined out of a deep research of our history, who we are, and the tagline came from the fact that we are deeply rooted in our rich ancestral traditions. So, 100,000 jab, we are jab, I am Jambalasi, you are Jambalasi. It is who we are. you know, the fanatical and superficial and labeling of all of this, because we do not understand who we are. And that's why I ask you the question about us embracing our blackness, because it is part of us. That's where it came from. So maybe you could say we were ahead.
Definitely. But you have to remember, that in itself is part of the mental enslavement. Because if you look at the population in Grenada per se, regardless of their skin color or your hair texture, there's a little black blood in all of us. In all of us, you know. And if we would have inherited and truly believed that we inherited the culture of our ancestors, there's absolutely nothing wrong in making that statement.
Thank you so very much. Of course, we're going to be sticking around because guess what? Some of our friends from the big parish, from La Bay, La Fillette, they are here with us. And of course, they are the La Fillette jab, the chant. A lot of you have been saying capital. Do you know what capital means? So we're going to be going through all of that. But before we do, out of our heritage, out of our history, there are some really unique sounds. And it's a pleasure to vibe with Truggy, the Conch man, and his friend. Truggy, will you go over by let's go over by the monument there. Take a little seat and hold our vibe. Grow a shell. Yeah, so let's, that's 4 feet. That's 4 feet touching. Yeah. Feels good. Yeah. Freedom, yeah. Absolutely. So Truggy, we're a partner. Let me sit down here now. The sun hot, but what's that? Nothing wrong. So here we have some elements of conch shell. Now the conch shell, of course, we know we get the shells on the beach and all of that. And folks are blowing shell just to blow shell. Lots of musicians, especially around the Caribbean. If you are viewing us from the island of Dominica, you would understand the rich heritage of the conch shell. And like the ancestors flowed through the region, of course, a lot of it happened in Grenada. But guess what? We have let a lot of it fall by the wayside. But we still have some folks who are really into it. And I have two brothers here with me, Truggy and his partner.
Raz Joe.
Oh, Raz, hey, Raz, you're a serious boy. Look at your helmet. The horn in my eye, you know. But that's all right, we jab in. Right, so Truggy, tell us about the conch shell and the instrumentation. How you have made a conch shell an instrument.
Well, first thing, you pick up the shell, right? This guy does bring the shell from up under the sea. And we have to scrub it. And after we scrub it, I mean it dry. And then we get a grinder, put my grinder, and I cut off the head. And after I cut the head, you know, I take a screwdriver and I chip out the piece inside there. And when you chip it out, this is what you get.
Right, so you need the grinder as an instrument to cut off the crown, if you will, of the conch.
As a modern instrument, we used to use the hacksaw blade long time. You understand? But now we have grinder, we use like grinder and a screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, and then you chip inside there. And when you get this now, you take your grinder and you smoothen off the head. And then you cut a piece of the wings so you can get a good song.
So why we use a grinder? What's the purpose of it? What does it do? Does it enhance the instrument?
No, the grinder is to use to take off all the rough parts and bring the head to smooth, so you put your mouth, it wouldn't cut up your mouth or blister your mouth. You understand? All right. Or you use a file or you use sandpaper. But being as we have the grinder as a modern tool, we use the grinder. You understand? It's faster. So with that now, you cut here, cut the head, take the screwdriver, chip it, and then you chip it to a certain level, which part you get a song. So once you chip it to that certain level, then you test it now and you look for the song you want.
All right, test it for me, Truggy. Rouse, your fine ears have different octaves, different levels. What happened here? Like your tune ears?
Yeah,
will see at all different tone of blown in the shell. Like the bass, just like a guitar, the lead guitar. So this one here, that's the bass, and that one here is the talker.
The bass and the?
Talker.
Spell that.
Talker.
Ah, the bass and the talker. What's the difference between the bass and the talker?
Talker give the smooth tone, and the bass give the heavy tone. Like.
Nice. Ah, Truggy. So, Hannah, where you guys got these ideas to make the conch shell instruments? Where you get it from? What's your inspiration?
Well, my inspiration is because, you know, I love the shell. And because I love to blow the shell, I say, you know something? Let me start to manufacture some shell and cut some shell and, you know what I mean? Well, along the way, I spoil a couple of them, right?
Well, naturally.
You understand? So within spoiling some of them, I get the kind of experience, you know what I mean? I know what's good, I know what's bad, and then I learn about the way. And then right now, we're good, we're perfect.
So we're good, we're perfect. We're here with Truggy and Rastro, and they're going to give us some conch shell rhythm. gentlemen, just give us some drumming for ambience. This is members of the Lafayette Jab Jab, and they are co-oping with Jambalassi Grenada, because what they want to show us is the reason why we hear the drums, we hear the conch shells, we hear the chanting, all of the things that are really and truly infused in the traditional Jab Jab. So of course, we in COVID times, if we are not using any charcoal, any oil, the Jab has not done their regalia, so to speak. So they're not in black, but they are here in spirit. So who is the capital? Capital! Show me your colors! So here now, firstly, I want to know, because let me tell you, I've been saying capital forever. And it's only about 5 years ago I get to know why I'm saying capital. So I feel, right, that I have a lot of people. And you know who really make me check to see what capital is? Every time I listen to a Skinny Banton song, at the start you always capital. And I like, so why Skinny Banton saying this? So what is capital?
When we say about capital, that's when we put the job to order.
Right, so it's like the capital is the leader of the band, and you call the band to order.
Yeah, capital. So anytime we say capital, the job get to order. So we say capital, we want to spell something.
All right, well, spell away. I'm not going to get in the middle of it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lafayette Jab.
All it will be well when things happen. Well, it's deep.
Why? The job of the come here, that emancipation, and down where we
Question. Why the Lafayette job so bad?
To tell you the truth, the job bad. And the job most bad. Because the amount of years the job raining. Since in 1973, Lafayette job functioning. 10 years champion, 2 years under the Juve ban, second place. So the jab know they working with amplifier. So the jab don't afraid nobody.
What? But you know the main aim of the job, right? Is that for you We know the main aim of is for you to continue and to pass this on to the generations. Because we don't want this energy, we don't want this heritage, we don't want this identity to dissipate. So, so your children, your grandchildren, the whole village, the whole country.
Everybody who was born in my village is Jab Jab children.
Hear that? Hear that? All right, Captain.
One little correction. I'm here to help you and to assist the Lafayette Jab Jab in any way I will participate. Right? So, Cap, let me tell you, since 1973, the Lafayette Jab Jab has been gone, you know. Under the mango tree in central Lafayette by Miss Evie. You know what I'm saying? I got man like...
So Miss Evie was a Jab Jab too?
Miss Evie children, she grandchildren, all she in fact all Ruban and Ruban.
All she offspring? He say all who born and when born yet. Yeah, Jab Jab we are.
As we say is just Jab. Lafayette is just Jab.
As Talpi say, everything is just Jab.
Not Talpi alone?
No.
You all know Jab!
The Jab Jab want to spell. That Jab Jab tired, man.
Emancipation Day, the 1st of August 2020. We've been marching through from 1828 through 2020. 182 years, but of course, if we go way back, it's a very long march. 400 years and coming up. So we now introduce the Shortknee. This is from whence we came. And we'd like to introduce this lovely lady here, Mrs. Ingrid Phillip, our granddaughter, Southside people say. So the Shortknee leaves the north and it moves south. So tell us about your initiative with the Shortknee.
My initiative with the Shortknee is just spread the culture throughout Grenada. As you notice, it's once a year. The people in St. George's really get to see Shortknee or any of the traditional band whatsoever. So I think this is time, because this has been, I believe it was unfair, you know, just that it's just one side, just like the dot on the I. Traditional mass is just, you know, a highlight of any show, and that's it. But I believe it's time that it is fully spread right throughout the island and make it our business. It is part of tourism also, and it's part of our culture. We grew up in it. It's part of us. It's the seasoning to our carnival.
I like that. Truly, truly.
So why leave it in one part of the island when it could be spread and be educated amongst everybody?
So out of all the mass forms, what attracted you to the Shortknee? And traditionally, what do you know about Shortknee that you embodied?
Well, originally I'm from Tivoli, Internal.
Oh, that's why. From Tivoli. That's the place.
Yes, and my family members have been playing that, so I haven't gone deep into the history, but I've seen it all my life. Even as I live in St. George's, over the years, when the Shortknee players come down from Tivoli on a Monday morning, they storm my house. So it has been there and still is, and I feel it is time that I let it loose from inside of me.
Once something is deeply rooted, at some point, it will spring loose. It will grow. So this gentleman here, you are? So what attracted you to play Shortknee? What do you know about Shortknee?
Well, I started playing Shortknee in 2003. And I played for about 7 years. Then I gave it a little break, but I came back last year. And while I was getting back into it, that's when I realized but St. George's now have a Shortknee band. You know, and over the years that I've spent studying spirituality, I've made a connection between the Shortknee that we have here and, you know, West African, Yoruba traditions like, you know, Igungun dancers and so on. So there's a connection in that. So, you know, so if you look at the Shortknee uniform, you see different colors and patterns, you know. And when you look at different colors and patterns, colors have vibration and frequency, energy. So when you're in this colors, you feel the energy, you feel the vibes, you know. Here you have the mirrors, and you have the bells, you have the mask. So it's like you become a different energy. You become an embodiment of energy straight from Africa. So that's one of the things that attract me to Shortknee.
Fantastic. So how big is the band? Before we give a display, how big is the band? So the next time because Lakey had drafted me into the Hermitage Shortknee. But not our grandlands have a Shortknee. I'm a Southside child. So I had to go with my people. So Lakey, bye-bye. Right, so how many members in the band?
Well, we had 20 people for parade last year. Some of them live in Trinidad, so I had a Trinidadian, Bajan, and one of the Grenadians who live in Canada. So it's the locals coming in to play, and we're taking our time and growing, spreading the culture. So I've even planned to do some workshop with the people in St. George.
Workshops will be great.
Right, so they will know much more, so they know what they get.
Because the tradition is so rich, and here we're talking about heritage and our emancipation and all of that. It is time that we understand why we do what we do. so we don't attach all these little cynicisms and sinister approaches to it. And so the workshops will be good so people understand why they're playing. You hear my brother here just explained the frequency of the colors, the mirrors, the mask, you know, where it came from. That is, so when you put it on, you just embody that, you just feel it, and that energy just flow. So we invite you now, along with our friends from the Lafayette Jab Jab, ladies and gentlemen, a Shortknee display. And it is a Southside Shortknee. Well, I tell you, next year, Southside strong, we come in. All right, that's a secret, I won't tell it. traditional form of Shortknee. And then we continue with the display before you wrap.
Yeah, it's so nice to see the vigor and the love and the unity. Country first. Family, country first. Anything else, piece of shit. Now, the Shortknee mass is probably one of the oldest mass. It was actually born out of the effervescent vigor and struggle of the slaves at the time against the plutocracy. Now, every article and item of the original Shortknee costume has a significance. The original Shortknee would wear two different color socks, white, brown. That was a disguise of pretending there was sheep foot, sometimes two different colors. But the most important part of it was the powder. Up to now, the powder of the Shortknee is a trademark. The powder was stolen by the house slaves, who most of them used to think that they're above us. Yeah, there we go. But the house slaves, some of them thought they was, superior to the land slaves and came. But sometimes, boyfriend, girlfriend thing, and the house slaves will steal some exotic powder and perfume right, to bring to the slaves on the night before the carnival celebration at the time. So the powder was a very cherished item. And they just, at the evening of the celebration, when they come out and play the mass and gallivant, drum, rhythm, just like this, same rhythms. And at the evening, because they disguised and went in the bush. And sometimes they will haul out some of these slave plantation owners' children in the bush and beat them up. And the one who, when they come back and summarize in the evening, the one who beat the most, the one who beat and fight up the most, not to kill, but just to beat and tell them, so they got the greatest sprinkling of powder as a reward. That powder is the blessing of forever. Backward nunca.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aiden Slinger. He just came by to enjoy it. Of course, he's one of Grenada's finest and foremost musicians and also a historian. And he gave us some Shortknee teachings here today. Capital, that was a good piece, yeah? All right, so we're back with the vibes. Of course, the Fillette Shortknee on the drums and conch shell and the Southside Shortknee. Let's do this. getting ready to bring the curtains down on the 2020 Emancipation Celebrations commemoration here from the Jab House. Of course, it was a joint collaborative effort of the Grenada Cultural Foundation, the Grenreal Corporation, and Jambalasi Grenada. Let's hear it for everyone who came through here today, these expressions. Expressions of the spoken word, of the drums, of everything historical, and that is uniquely Grenadian. The journey from emancipation to freedom, 1838 to 2020, 182 years, and we march on. The chain is so symbolic. Standing here next to chains actually gives you a sort of chilling feeling, a reality, if you will, of the ancestors who really paved the way for us to walk through free. So let us unite as Black people. Let us know more about our Black history, and so we will be better able to embrace our Blackness, especially our Grenadian identity, as we get closer to where our mass forms of Chab and Shortknee and all these things came from. The more we know, the more we understand, the more we embrace, the more we express, and the richer we live. Before we bring the curtains down, I'd like to invite the CEO of the Grenada Cultural Foundation, who really was a big part of this celebration here today, to say a few words. Ms. Shirma Wells.
Black people, hear this. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear for atomic energy, as none of them can stop your time. How long shall them kill our prophets while we stand aside and some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Black people, so won't you hate all Black people, man?
Sounds of freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Shirma Wells.
What a spiritual experience we had here this morning. For how much are there? 4 feet, a chain. We have drums, we have shell, we have horns. The only thing I'm missing here is the. Oh, you got it, you got it, you got it. But nevertheless, it doesn't mean, you see, because it's a cultural thing, you don't necessarily have to be Black to be Jab. It's in us. It was given to us. It's a freedom call. We got it since 1838, and we'll continue to live with our people forever. We must pass it on to the next generation so they can continue to do that perpetually from one generation to the next. Don't ever forget that on the 1st of August, 1838, our African ancestors were completely emancipated and free. We want to thank everybody for being here today. On behalf of the Cultural Foundation, commemorative engagements continue. We are going to be having a virtual panel discussion hosted by Brenda here on GIS and on, of course, across the internet. So we urge you to listen. We have some very, very important guests that are going to be discussing the issues of emancipation, the struggles of our people internationally, regionally, and locally. People like Ambassador Ali Gill, young Richie Maitland, Dr. Oliver Benoit, Angus Martin, Dr. Jacob out of Barbados, Nancy Jacob, and a number of others will be joining in that discussion. So you need to tune in to get a little more enlightenment as to this process, that journey that we're on, that journey that we still have to be on to ensure and make sure that our freedom remains intact. So on behalf of the Grenada Cultural Foundation, we also want to invite you to be a part of the Seydu Rainbow City Emancipation Celebration. That is going to be on Monday. It's going to be done all virtually. So tune in on your special devices for that as well. Shortknee, Verco, Shakespeare Mass, Jab, all evolved from our African ancestors. Yes, let's hear it for the Jab. Hip, hip, hip. Hip, hip, hip. Hip, hip, hip. Thank you. Let's take them out with some drumming.
Thank you, Summit. Thank you. All right. Thank you so very much to the CEO of the Grenada Cultural Foundation, Ms. Shirma Wells. Before we say goodbye on behalf of Jambalassi Grenada, the pioneers as to why we are here today. Remember the job houses at the Esplanade Mall. We're here next Saturday until the 14th. So come on down, get your job merch. Be part of the experience as we seek to enrich our heritage, emancipate, free our minds and ourselves, and enrich our Grenadian identity. You wanted to say something before I say goodbye?
The more African them gone down, is the more African we come. The more warriors that they kill, is the more they see coming. Still they kill Zulu.
More come.
They kill Watusi.
More come.
The more warrior them gone down.
More come, more come. All right. So Grenada, Jambalassi Grenada hopes that the activities here at the Job House will help us to connect our culture, will help us to connect our heritage on a meaningful level. And we hope that you learned some new things today on this Emancipation Day. And of course, we want to remind you that the spirit of carnival and culture is still with us and within us. The celebration of Spice Mass is cancelled, but the spirit of carnival lives within us. So follow Jambalassi Grenada on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. And next week, Saturday, we're going to be here again, also on the 14th of August, as the Job House and the festivities of our Grenadianism and our heritage, especially our Job heritage, continue. So come on down and join us on the live stream. We'd like to thank Nazim Benjamin and company from PartyGrenada, the Government Information Service, Richie Oliver, and everyone who assisted here today. We really appreciate it. The Grenada Cultural Foundation once more, and the Grenreal Corporation, who brings this to us every week. From here, on behalf of Ian Charles and everyone at Jambalassi Grenada, it's been an absolute pleasure. Happy Emancipation to all. And as we are ending, waters are falling on the ground. And may those waters be the blessings from the ancestors as they walked through the doors and freed us on this 1st of August, 1838. Goodbye, everyone. God bless. We give it a Lafayette chapter.
This live stream was powered by PartyGrenada.com.